Okay, so now we're going to go over group 2, which is the foundation. Okay, so for our agenda, we're going to go over the ACTP Code of Ethics, the 3 Ps, policies and procedures, tutor services and roles, and then tutoring and learning center expectations, and then just some reminders. So for our ACTP Code of Ethics, we're going to start with best interest. Tutors and peer educators will be committed to acting in the best interest of tutees as specified by TLS. So we are there for our tutees, so we want to make sure that we have their best interest in mind with everything that we do. For number 2, for responsibility, tutors and peer educators will take responsibility for their own behavior and work to resolve conflicts that may arise between themselves and the client. So a little bit of that conflict resolution that we go over in our CRLA, we want to make sure that we're taking responsibility for our actions. And then for number 3, integrity, tutors and peer educators will practice and promote accuracy, honesty, and truthfulness, just one of the standards that we need to have throughout our sessions. Always have that integrity. And then for number 4, fairness, tutors and peer educators will exercise reasonable judgment and take precautions to ensure that their potential biases, the boundaries of their competence, and the limitations of their expertise do not lead to or condone unjust practices. So kind of how we went over in our implicit biases, we want to make sure that we kind of keep that in check and don't let our personal values affect our fairness in the workplace. And then number 5, we have commitment. So tutors and peer educators will fulfill commitment made to learners. For number 6, we have for respect for others' rights and dignity. So tutors and peer educators will respect the dignity and worth of all people and the rights of individuals to privacy, confidentiality, and self-determination. So just make sure you have respect for people as you're working with clients, and then always remember those FERPA rights, rights to privacy and confidentiality, of course, and also their self-determination. And then for number 7, excellence. Tutors and peer educators will strive to maintain excellence by continuing to improve their tutoring skills and engage in applicable professional development activities. And then for number 8, respect for individual differences. Tutors and peer educators will respect cultural, individual, and role differences, including those based on age, sex, gender identity, race, ethnicity, culture, national origin, religion, sexual orientation, disability, language, and socioeconomic status. So just that kind of respect for individual differences, because you're going to be working with a lot of students and a wide range of different identities. So make sure you have respect for every identity. And then for number 9, professionalism, tutors and peer educators will not engage in inappropriate relations with tutees. And then number 10, confidentiality. Tutors and peer educators will maintain the highest privacy standards in terms of protecting personal information relative to those whom they tutor. So once again, kind of leading into those FERPA rights. Okay, for our 3 Ps, we have our procedures, policies, and professional standards. So clarifying these roles sets the groundwork for being a good employee, and it sets a solid foundation so you can create a successful workplace culture that will thrive. So we kind of go over these in pre-semester training. Just make sure you're always upholding these procedures, policies, and professional standards, and you're all set. So once again, we do go over these in pre-semester. We have our code of conduct, stuff like dress code and all of that. Falsifying timesheet policy, so don't lie about your timesheet about when you clock in and everything. Workplace visitors policy, our absence policy, equipment policy, and then our drug and alcohol policy. Once again, we go over all those topics at pre-semester. Everything is kind of laid out in that. So our mission statement, the Office of Student Success is dedicated to transforming student lives by providing accessible, high quality, comprehensive services, opportunities, and support to assist all students in their education journey, because that is what we are here for, assisting students in their educational journeys. And then Texas A&M University Corpus Christi, so the campus as a whole, it's going to be a premier institution of higher education, recognized by the Department of Education as a Hispanic and minority serving institution, dedicated to providing an unparalleled commitment to student success, developing professionals and engaged leaders, and providing intellectual capital through research, creative activity, and innovation for South Texas, the Gulf, and beyond. So kind of upholding that idea of the TMUCC mission statement, that's going to be the college as a whole. Okay, so we're going to ask a couple questions. So can you eat during scheduled tutor hours? And the answer to that is yes. Do tutors and peer educators wear a name tag? Yes. So you are given a name tag that you are required to wear whenever you are working with 2Ds and on the clock. Can scheduled tutors who do not have 2Ds work on their own homework? Yes, so if you are not with a 2D or a student or anyone, you can work on your homework. Okay, so how long during a work shift before a tutor can take a break? So every session is 45 minutes of academic support, but you are blocked off for a full hour. So after those 45 minutes, you get a 15-minute break to do whatever you would like, eat, take a restroom break. So you do have those 15 minutes. Okay, so for learning assistance, we have our Learning Commons. So this is going to be the appointment only one-on-one tutoring. Students must be enrolled in the course that they receive tutoring in. And then for the Writing Center, writing assistance for all subjects by appointments or walk-ins when available. It's facilitated by student and professional consultations, and then SI programs. So that's going to be content-ready group sessions that follow course topics. SI is optional, so that's going to be peer assistance is built into their class requirements. And then for the Math Learning Center, that's going to be drop-in office hours facilitated by TAs, and any student can get math help regardless of course enrollment. So you can stop in at any time if you need help with a certain math class or if you need help with just math and like life. And then we have all of our roles and titles. We've gone over this in group 1 of ACTP and also in our pre-semester training, but we do have our tutors, our writing consultants, our SI leaders, our program and training leads, and our graduate assistants, and then our peer assistants and our office assistants, which everyone should kind of be familiar with all of those roles by now. Okay, so we have a couple of questions here. Just think these over based off what we've gone over, and you are going to be doing a little quiz on these. So we have, what types of services do we offer? What are some duties of each role in TLS? And then what are the minimum expectations here at TLS? So you will be filling out the answers to these, so just think those over. Okay, and then also we have a little QR code. You're going to take time to fill this form out and answer the questions that are asked. It should take you to a Google form, and it will be asking you what are some suggestions for improvements or changes to services or roles that can affect meaningful outcomes, student success, and improve services. So you're going to scan that QR code and just take some time to fill that out as well. Okay, so TLS expectations. So the expectations are part of your training. It's going to be covered in pre-semester training, in-semester training, weekly meetings with your leads and coordinators, and then observations of your sessions. So just training and meetings that make sure that you stay in check with TLS expectations. So how does a student know what is expected of them when they walk in and when they interact with the tutor? It is part of your job to set the expectations of a session with your clients. You are an example of your university and of TLS, so make sure you are using what is being taught in your training to help guide your clients when interacting with them in a session. This is really important because you don't want to have a student acting out and messing with your job, because that is taken very seriously. Okay, so tutor and peer educator expectations. So be prepared to work and interact with your client. You're going to provide a positive and productive atmosphere, and then you're going to be professional, honest, and respectful while helping students with their academic needs. Set the standards in the center and your sessions to ensure students sign in and out and ensure students are abiding by the rules of the center. And you also serve as guides that help students do their work and allow them to work independently. So remember that you are a resource to these students. Answer questions to the best of your ability, so don't fake it. If you don't know something, refer your client to someone who does, like their professor or maybe someone in the same field. And then also commit to being on time and giving your full attention while assisting. Remind your client that coming to your sessions is not a replacement for going to class, so they can't skip class and come and expect you to teach everything to them. Be professional, respectful, and accommodating to students' academic needs. And then you are there to help your client foster independence, and you are not permitted to do their work. So student expectations. So for your students in the sessions, you want them to be prepared to interact and work with your tutor and peer educator. So you want to kind of enforce that, say that you're there to interact with them, not them to just listen to you. They need to be positive, friendly, and patient. And then they also need to abide by all rules of the center, including the signing in and out. And then they need to work independently and ask questions as they need help. Ask questions and engage in relevant discussion with the tutor or peer educator. If they need additional resources, they can ask the tutor or peer educator, and then they can see what answers they may have for them, or if they need to be referred to someone else. Pose questions based on problems that they have reviewed before tutoring sessions, and provide an opportunity to review material throughout the tutoring session. So if they before coming into a session, they might want to review any questions that they may have to ask you. That way they are kind of prepared. That way they aren't wasting time during the session. Attend appointments on time. So we do want the students to show up to their appointments on time. Once again, not wasting time there. And then attend class regularly. So this makes for more informed and productive tutoring sessions. So they have some kind of a base knowledge, because if a student shows up to your session and doesn't know what's going on, and then you ask them if they go to class and they say no, well, that's kind of the problem. Be respectful, use appropriate language, and abide by the code of conduct for your center and institution. And then they have to be aware that tutors are not permitted to complete assignments, do quizzes, exams, or any graded assignments. That's a real big one. So here's some reminders. Always speak positively about our learning centers. Always speak positively about instructors, or at least not negatively. Kind of remain like neutral on that. It's never a good thing to talk negatively about instructors. And then be honest and open with students about challenging classes, but never advise a student to drop the class without first speaking to an instructor or advisor. And then if there is a service that the tutor cannot recommend to students, bring it to your coordinators or assistant director. And then never speak ill of an instructor once again, and then never speak ill of a student as well, and then never speak ill of the subject you are covering. So you just want to kind of maintain that positive attitude. It's easy to sometimes to get caught up in like the negativity of things, but it is kind of important to maintain a positive attitude about things to kind of help the student. You are a resource, so remember that you are one of the best resources to find and recruit amazing students to become tutors and peer educators. So for employment, encourage your classmates to apply. If you notice someone's really specifically good at a subject, be like, hey, I think you would like this job. Identify other students and tutees who come to TLC or TLS sessions to apply. So you want to make sure that if a student is like, oh, maybe I would be interested in tutoring, you could recommend them to the center. And then promote employment opportunities to organizations, clubs, and chapters. There we go. Wait.